As a flight attendant, no one told me how it would affect my life having a passenger expire on a flight. And the first time I had a passenger expire on a flight, it completely changed my life. And in training, and even when you think about being a flight attendant or going into aviation, it doesn't ever come into your mind that these things will happen. So when it happened to me and I was flying from LAX to Heathrow, I was working galley of business class of the Boeing 777. And it was a passenger who came on. He was sitting in business class and I served him. He was very gracious. I went on first break. He actually expired during first break. But because when you're flying from LA to London, it's at night. And so everyone had pulled down their window shades and it was very dark. And although we go through the cabin and we refill waters and we check on people, no one could tell that he was actually expired because he looked like he was asleep. So when I came off my break, it was still relatively dark in the cabin, and it wasn't until our arrival service when everyone began to pull up their window shades that we were aware that he was no longer with us. And I remember my flying partner saying, "Hope, you have to come look at 3A." And I thought, why are you asking me? And I will never forget that because you don't ever expect to see that, but it's not something you can even prepare yourself for. Because the passenger had expired during first break into a 10, 11-hour flight, he had been expired for several hours and he had changed color. And so as we do, flight attendants went into first response and tried to resuscitate him. Now, I froze because this was my first time ever seeing something like this, really actually seeing a expired person. And he had been expired, so even with the AED, even with chest compressions, there was no way to bring him back. And it stuck in my mind because of that's just a shock. And having to hear the crack of the ribs when you're efficiently doing chest compression, sometimes that happens. And we had to land with him in the business galley with the curtains closed. And this, again, was in Great Britain. So anytime someone expires on the plane, every country has a different way of processing the person. In Heathrow, we had to wait for the coroner as well as other officials to sign off. And it was uncomfortable because again, flying, you don't really think about this. If you're in the medical profession or professions where you may regularly see people expire, that would be something that you're almost used to or prepared for. Not only was I not prepared for that, I really wasn't prepared for how I would react to seeing that. And it really sent me into an existential crisis for several weeks. And it was uncomfortable just because I was questioning myself. Why am I waking up at 3 a.m. with that image and crying and feeling so uncomfortable for someone that I did not know, and I only experienced them for this short amount of time. And I shared this to say it really taught me the fragility of life, but also how quickly it goes and the beauty of life. And I'm grateful for that experience because it allowed me to see how quickly it goes. But again, when we are flying, there's so many moments that are unexplainable. There's so many moments that we are witness to or that people may not understand because that's not something that you want to see, but it does happen. And it was not the only time. So this is just to anyone flying. That is something that can happen. Not a lot of people have experienced that, but it was beautiful in the state of the awareness that it brought me to for how quickly life goes. My company was progressive. They wanted to ensure that mental health was at the forefront. So EAP, checking to make sure I was okay, as well as offering time off. And I definitely needed that time off. And just this story is about what we encounter in the skies that people don't always see. So just know you just may be helping someone. You may encounter something that changes your life, but flying will bring you situations in life that will change you in some way.